Culture destroyers. I knew something was up when Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker told us to put away our textbooks. "We don't need these things," he said, dropping his in the wastebasket. That caused more looks between the boys. "We know the truth, don't we, students?" Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker said. "Tell me, what does the ideal Aryan look like? The perfect example of the master race." Aryan was the Nazi code for Western European white people, of which the Nazis were the perfect example, of course. Boys raised their hands and gave the answers that had been drilled into them. Aryans had blonde hair, blue eyes, square shoulders, smooth, straight noses, square jaws, above average height, superior strength, intelligence, and agility, with pure Aryan ancestors as far back as 600 years. "Good, yes," Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker said. "Like our beloved Führer, yes? The Aryan ideal." He pointed to the picture of Adolf Hitler on the wall behind him. "Our Führer, who has dark hair and dark eyes, whose nose is bulbous, who is short and never takes physical exercise. And where is his grandfather from? Czechoslovakia, perhaps? Poland? He has never told us. So perhaps not the best example." You could almost hear the classroom gasp. Was Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker joking? It had to be a joke. It was no secret that the Führer didn't match the Aryan ideal that he'd gone to war to defend, but no one talked about it. To speak of it in public was like saying the Emperor wasn't wearing any clothes. It just wasn't done. But Melker wasn't joking. I could tell, and so could the other boys. I felt as though I could hear the heartbeats of every boy in the room, but mine slow to a cool, calculated thrum. They were trained to be on the lookout for dissenters, people who didn't agree with the Nazi party, tuned in like the special radios the Nazis sold that only picked up German radio stations. "But the Führer is exceptional," Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker said, and the room relaxed slightly. He could still get out of this if he praised Hitler and went back to teaching the party line. "Surely the other Nazi leaders are true Aryans," he said. "Herr Himmler, head of the SS, short-sighted, dark hair, dark eyes, no chin, nose like the beak of a bird. No, perhaps not. Propaganda Minister Joseph Goebbels, then. Short of stature, thin, acne-marred face. And that clubfoot. Hardly in the Aryan ideal. Can you think of a Nazi leader who does match the Aryan ideal our young men are fighting and dying for? No?" Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker was met with a wall of silence. The boys sat watching him the way hawks stared unblinkingly at their prey. The only time I'd been more frightened for another person was when I'd seen the Jewish man being beaten on Kristallnacht. I was sweating and shaking, as though it was me up there in front of the class, digging a grave for myself. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I had no idea what had happened to Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker, what had made him change his mind, or finally tell us what he'd always secretly been thinking. But if he wasn't careful, he was going to end up in a concentration camp. "Remember what we learned last week?" Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker went on. "Every race in the world can be sorted into one of three categories: culture founders, culture maintainers, and culture destroyers. Aryans, of course, are the culture founders and maintainers. Every great advancement in the history of mankind has been made by Aryans. Like paper. No. Wait, that was invented by the subhuman Chinese. Gunpowder, too. The radio. No, that was an Italian. The gramophone? No, a German Jew. But I'm sure we can think of something." A number of the boys started to call out Aryan advancements, but Herr Professor Dr. Major Melker waved them away. "No matter who created these things, we must defend them against the culture destroyers, yes? For what do culture destroyers do? They burn books. They ban music. They rip great art from museum walls. They refuse to teach literature and music and art to their children. They are monsters." I held my breath. No one spoke. The Nazis had done all those things in the name of preserving the pure Aryan culture, and we all knew it. I gripped the edge of my desk, worried for Herr Professor Dr. Major Melcher. Like the Edelweiss pirates, he was finally standing up to the Nazis and telling the truth, and it was going to get him killed. The bell rang. It was time for the first of our 5 Hitler Youth mandated hours of physical education in our 8-hour school day. The boys in the class stared mutely at Herr Professor Dr. Major Melcher as they filed past. They were giving him the silent treatment. The 40 13-year-old boys in our class had never left the room so quietly. It was spooky. Herr Professor Dr. Major Melcher had to notice. "Just remember," he called to us, "you are members of the master race. It is your God-given duty to bring order to this wicked world by dying for your Führer."